Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, according to recent media reports, the Health Ministry's vaccination rollout plan will be prioritized as follows. Firstly, medical and health personnel. Secondly, later on in the month, members of the security forces as well as those 60 years and older. Thirdly, in April, the vaccination of the 60s and over age group will continue with the addition of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Department of Correctional Services, Customs Agency, PICA personnel and workers, and educational institutions. Then we have, fourthly, the public sector workers, and inclusive of cashiers, customer service agents, transport inspectors, JUTC bus drivers and conductors. And then fifthly, we have the government officials to include MPs, the judiciary, parish councillors, senior civil servants, etc., and then the rest of the population. Wow. Well, is the MOH on the right path? To discuss this matter, we have online this morning Ms. Nadine Spence, social commentator, and Mr. Richard Dickey Crawford, who is also a social commentator. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. And good morning.
Good to have you with us again. What are your initial thoughts on the government's revised rollout plan? Beginning with you, Ms. Spence.
One of the things I always try to do when something like this comes up, I try to put it in context. So the first thing I did is I went to the WHO site and I look at how the WHO, which is for all intents and purposes the coordinating body for the vaccine, for the global vaccination program for those countries who are paying attention to the World Health Organization. And you would see that what the government is doing is working with WHO recommendations. A little tweaks and changes here and there, because, for example, the WHO suggests that one of the things that should happen to deal with vaccine hesitancy is that local leaders should take the vaccine, and because there's so much conspiracy theories and mistrust in the process, that for them, leaders and other highly placed public officials taking the vaccine would be important. And you would have seen in the US, for example, that Joe Biden took the vaccine and his vice president and so on, just to say to people, we're taking it too. Well, in Jamaica, we saw that there was a request for leaders to take the vaccine before the general public. But then when they were put on the list to take the vaccine, we saw an uproar and they took themselves off. So I think...
well, not off, but they're fifth on the list, eh?
Huh?
But they're further down on the list now.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I know they're not the first. That's why I'm saying they were on the list, but they took themselves out. That's what I'm saying. If we pay attention, we would recognize that the listing and how the thing is being rolled out is recommended by the WHO, not WTO. I think I said WTO. So that it's how the WHO is advising countries on how they should proceed with the vaccine.
But before I ask Mr. Crawford for his comments, let me just clarify something here. Is based on what you read, is the WHO asking for the entire cohort of the leadership of a nation, or for the significant persons like the president, the prime minister, the person who is in charge of the health ministry?
I think it was asking for leaders, for highly placed people to take the vaccine at the
Not the entire cohort.
Well,
maybe that's what Jamaicans are concerned about.
Yeah, I'm not saying whether it's the entire or not. I'm just saying it asks for leaders to take the vaccine in one of its models, right? And that's one thing that could happen to deal with vaccine hesitancy.
Yeah.
So it's to me, that response is one of those recommended by the World Health Organization.
Okay. Mr. Crawford?
Yes, sir.
Your take on it?
I think Nadine put her finger in it. Once again, you follow what somebody else tells you. All taking into consideration the fact that the WHO is supposed to be the World Health Organization, but they have not really earned any great stripes out of dealing with this situation.
Not hearing you clearly, Dickie. Could you
we have
speak
not
more
earned any. They have not really earned any great stripes for their administration over the past year. The WHO knows that there is a problem there, and we understand that. The severity of this COVID crisis, funneled and promoted by the media, has created a lot of doubt and insecurity. And therefore, clearly, one of the things that has arrived in various areas in recent times is that, yes, your prime minister, your president, people of that type should be seen to be taking the vaccine to convince the public it's safe, it's okay, it's ready, let's go. So that has been what has been done. It is inevitable that this had to be done. It should have started earlier in this regard, because when we were not into this dark hour, which the Prime Minister is now talking about, there were those of us who said the first set of people that must be vaccinated, or rather we never had the vaccine yet, but must be properly fitted out, were your health workers, the doctors, the nurses, the people who come into direct control with the ill persons who have caught this virus. So I find that we never did that. We also thought that we would use a different formula in Jamaica to preserve, what was supposed to be our highest income, one of our highest income earning potentials, the tourism industry. And here we are at this point in time where the news is not very good at all. And now we're talking about a country that has a 39% positivity rate. I was listening to every word that Christopher Toussaint and the Prime Minister was saying yesterday, just to make sure one is following this thing closely and clearly. We've been hearing for the longest time that the beds were going to run out. The hospitals are in shambles, so to speak, and oxygen is finishing. We have empty hotels in Jamaica that could house patients. Children are dying for going to a hospital and cannot get treatment in the hospital. There's no bed. And a doctor tells the mother of his child, I'm not going to try and improvise because I don't want to get in any trouble. You're talking about human lives like this?
Tell you what, Mr. Crawford, could you hold that thought, please? We're going to take a break and be right back.
You're listening to Love 101, the family station. It's now 7:15.
As more and more people stay in, you need to bring your business to your customers. And Sagicor Bank makes that easier with Swipe. Equip your delivery staff with the Sagicor Bank Swipe Terminal and accept debit and credit card payments almost anywhere. Apply online for Swipe today at sagicor.com. Sagicor Bank, helping you change the way you do business with Swipe, supporting growth, supporting Jamaica.
Digicel. Some things in life are better together, like Kingston and dancehall, like Sundays and streaming football, like secret texts between best friends, like video chats with your granny on weekends, like a road trip and playing songs on load.
At Digicel, we're bringing together all the experiences you love, from latest shows, sports, music, radio, breaking news to HD video chats, cloud storage, and more. Jamaica's fastest mobile network. Digicel, better together.
Colgate Triple Action. 3 benefits for a deep clean. As a mother, you always want to give the best to your family and to make them happy. With Colgate Triple Action, you give them 3 reasons to smile: cavity protection, whiter teeth, and fresh breath. A unique formula with a minty flavor they will love. Colgate Triple Action. Find it at your favorite store.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. We are discussing this morning evaluating the health ministry's vaccination rollout plan. And we have online Ms. Nadine Spence, social commentator, Mr. Richard Dickey Crawford, social commentator as well. Mr. Crawford, before the break, you were making some points and some suggestions. Go ahead, please.
Should we remember that Donald Trump and the United States quoted, well, the World Health Organization says this and the World Health Organization says that. And the United States has became a basket case. And thank God he eventually had to leave office. And the new president, regardless, is making significant steps to correct the sad situation in America. Now, our problem, of course, is that I pick up that something is not right. Something just is missing somewhere. The Prime Minister can't come on national television and tell us that this is our darkest hour. Yes, we are at our darkest hour, and we hear no definitive steps to control this virus that is brought us.
For example, what else would you want to hear, Mr. Crawford, than what was said last 2 Sundays ago?
You can't just sit there and wait on the, thank goodness some of them came yesterday on the vaccine. There are people, which the government itself has said, and everybody else who knows said it. There are people who are breaking and ridiculing the rules and the protocols, as it were. And that's creating a major problem in the country, or has created a major problem in the country.
What were you expecting to say in that regard, then?
What do I expect him to say?
Yes, in that regard, yes.
Say is what steps have to be taken for those people who break the rules and endanger the lives of others. They have to be put in place, whether it's a fine, whatever it is. That is everybody's now coming to that viewpoint, you know. We are on the verge of losing hundreds more of our loved ones in a very short time to COVID. This was a statement I just copied from an outstanding talk show host who has been riding this thing and following it totally over a period of time. It's not a matter of what I want to be done or what the Prime Minister should do. It's a matter of what has to be done to try and save the country.
Okay.
And you're telling me continuously, from day one we put the proposal forward, it went into discussion, there was national agreement. How are you coming to tell me now that there are no beds for anybody and we have empty hotel rooms in Jamaica?
All right. Ms. Spence, your take on what was said a while ago by Mr. Crawford.
I am just sitting here listening to Dickie and saying to myself, I think one of the things that the government is trying to do is they've been listening too much to public opinion. I think you have to lead with a conviction that regardless of the political consequences, you do what you need to do. Because one of the things that I've noticed is how we're as politicized as the Americans on this matter of the vaccine and the pandemic.
That's how nations are.
And so I don't know if I would say that's how nations are.
Yeah,
if you look, there are several nations there are several nations in the world that are not responding this way. Look at what is happening globally, and you can pick out the nations where the responses are so politicized, and the nation look at what happened in Great Britain when they recognized that they needed to pay attention to the pandemic. You didn't get the whole heap of political two sides of the argument conversation. Look at what is happening in Barbados. Not all nations are responding this way, and we shouldn't say that to ourselves and then continue the madness.
What is it that has been so politicized from your view in regards to the rollout?
Our response, not the rollout, but just the handling of our response as a nation and as a people, even people's decision now to just not respect the rules. Part of it is politicized. You can see it, But I believe that we have to, as a nation and as a people, where we are now in respect of the number of cases, it was always predicted, It was always being talked about. I remember from the early days of the pandemic when the regular things used to be had. we were always looking at where we could go if we didn't observe certain rules. If we didn't do this, this is where we would go. This is where we were kicking the can further down the road, if you want to say. But if we do these things, there's this line. I don't know if you remember those press conferences where we say, okay, this is where we could go potentially. This is how much beds we have. This is where we must ensure that we don't go this direction, right? But we've been kicking the can down the road, and now we're at the point where people have decided that they're not just not going to observe the rules. One of the things that I think the government should have done from early is they should have adjusted the laws to ensure that there were consequences to breaking the rules. I think this idea of moral suasion and appealing to people
that's what Mr. Crawford is saying.
Is
out of the question, but
it's problematic. I think people need to be held to account, and people need to be punished when they are found to be in breach. And we should agree. This is where we should have consensus that when you break the rules, and that we ourselves, when we are on the road and we see the rules being broken, we should say, no, enough is enough. You can't do that. You're putting all of us at risk. Because it's not just that you might contract the disease and you might take it home to the people in your family, but it's also that if I am at home and my daughter is pregnant or my father has a heart attack, they won't be able to get into the hospital. It's all of the other ways that we are impacted. And so we've been doing this nice kind of, we were happy that we were doing well and we were doing better than the United States. We were doing better than the rest of the, but we weren't paying attention to what was really happening in Barbados, that they really arrested people, lock up people for a long time, or that in Canada, they locked down.
Yes, shut down. But anyway, we have now received 50,000 vaccines yesterday. And I gather that some members of the public have been raising concerns about the nature and number of the vaccines that have been received and are promised. What are your thoughts in this regard? Mr. Crawford first.
Well, part of you seem to be saying to me that the vaccines that have come, and I'm not saying that they're not going to help, but there's still different views out on it. But it seems to me that we're saying that because the vaccines have come or are going to come, this is going to solve the problem right away. And it is not so. I mean,
only 50,000. There's over 60 and over 174,000 people estimated. I know. So if you multiply the 50 by 2 in terms of sharing each vial, it's only those 60 years and over that will cater for in the initial stage.
Well, you can't do more than you can do with what you have. If we are at this stage, we have been negotiating before. Let me be very practical. The government of Jamaica invited the Cubans to help them months ago. The Cuban government sent nurses and doctors down here, loaded plane, ready to work. They send the Cubans back out of Jamaica because the American government told them to do so. I mean, come on. And why, as Nadine is trying to say...
We should have taken that? That's what you're saying? We should have taken up that offer with the Cuban vaccine?
They were here. They offered to work with us, and we never used them. When we sent them back home and refused to use, Mr. Trump sat there and talked about we must not take any things to fight this virus from the Cubans. I mean, that is really the sickest kind of politics in the world. Why is it that we never went the route of the Prime Minister?
Vicky, that's what I'm talking about.
I know that's what you're talking about.
It's the politicization of our conversations that
we're paying the price for it now.
No, man, I'm just talking about that analysis of the Trump. It's the whole left-right debate against TMP, JLP side. It's from me, Vicky, it's hard to sit and hear that analysis when given the fact of what is happening right now. And what you said that I agree with you and I agree with Dylan is that the 50,000 won't work. But can we look at the rest of the plan, which talks about 14,000 coming next week? Because there's also a bigger issue. And I don't even know that the United States is paying any mind, because I don't know if you're paying to the broader issue of vaccine.
They're hoarding the thing.
Is happening globally. They're hoarding vaccines.
Yeah, they're hoarding them.
Hear about the rest of the world.
Of course, by the
conversation now is that the west of the Euro America has left us alone, and we who were said to be in their backyard, where are we getting vaccines from? India. That's the conversation we should be having. We're still caught up in the old left-right debate, and we're not paying attention that a larger issue has now resurfaced, and it's asking, and that some of the vaccines that we are buying, we are getting them because we are members of the African Union.
Yes.
Those are the conversations I'd like us to have. What does that mean for I remember Percival Patterson was involved in the group of 77 when countries like ours fought back against the big dominant countries in the world. Now we have, in the Caribbean, you have Caribbean countries showing off on each other because them first vaccinate.
15 other Caribbean nations.
How is it that we're not having the conversation?
15 other Caribbean nations, CARICOM nations already have received.
I have received. What is it that was happening? Why is it that India took so long to give us the vaccine?
Yes.
What are the other international relations between countries that are manifesting itself that we are
the
not
other dates that are scheduled, you wonder if they're going to be met as well?
Earlier for the vaccines definitely was not the best performance by Jamaica. We all know that.
But we all don't know that. That's what I'm saying. Let us have some relevant.
Stop telling me about left-right argument and that kind of rubbish.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's what I hear coming from you. And I'm saying,
no, it's not. You're interpreting it totally wrong.
All right, one at a time.
What you're talking about.
One at a time. Mr. Crawford.
Listen, the Canadians, look, what we have done, and it's not about politics, it's about money. We thought we could use our situation and not take the necessary steps because it would hurt the economy, etc., etc. And we made some very serious mistakes, and we allowed people to fly into Jamaica and come off of planes and just melt into the crowd who were apparently infected. We knew the results shortly after that.
We dropped the ball. We dropped the ball.
And the company is the same problem.
We dropped the ball. We need to admit
We
it.
dropped the ball. Listen, what has Canada done eventually to us? Which country has sat up and said, do not go to Jamaica, the United States of America? Which other country has said, no flight is leaving Canada to go to any Caribbean territory? What are we talking about here?
But you must also put in that picture. I went to.
And why is it that I don't hear people like you talking about examples like the leader and the Prime Minister of New Zealand?
I have
what
family.
on our country twice to save it from the problem.
Mr. Crawford, Miss Spence, you have only half a minute less than that.
I have family who live in Montego Bay, and a lot of the times different things to talk about. We shouldn't have done it, but go to Montego Bay and see what the tourism workers are encountering. Yeah, we don't like tourism, and we don't want to know that that's how we make money. But go to Montego Bay and find out how the people down there who rely on tourism, whether we think it's fair or not.
We are out of time. We're out of time. Out of time. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us, Miss Spence and Mr. Crawford. Have a productive day. Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
JN Bank Live Online Banking is your quick and easy banking that's safe and secure. Sign up today. Visit jnbank.com. JN Bank will help you find a way. The time is
7:31, folks, on the Sound of Love. The Morning Watch today is brought to you by Educom Cooperative Credit Union, valued through service, integrity, innovation, and commitment.
A Digicel, yo! Sell me a 3-base credit there. I want top up and win. I'm money pre now.
Yo, that sound buzzy. How that?
I'm money pre with Digicel. From now until April 1st, top up with $300 or more for a chance to win cash and prime bundles valued at over 3 million in prizes. A bag of things I give away. Win instant daily prizes, yeah. Win 10 grand a week, yeah. And the grand prize, 20 people are gonna win 50 grand each. Sell me one more there. I'm money pre with Digicel.
Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Hey boy, you think it a go so? Watch me and you.
Do not repay evil with evil or insult with insult. On the contrary, repay evil with blessing. 1 Peter 3 and verse 9. Let's work together to make Jamaica a gentler, kinder society. A message from the Church of the Open Bible, 12 Washington Boulevard. Join our worship service Sundays at 8 a.m. right here on Love 101.
Hey, psst, come closer. I want to tell you my secret. My son wears his favorite shirt for everything, and no matter how much he runs, jumps, and plays, it always looks like new and smells really good. My secret? I use Suavitel Superior Care. Keeps my family's clothes as good as new. Suavitel, as soft as a mother's love.
My daughter calls me the
bestest dad ever.
And as her father, I have to live up to that. She looks to me for everything. But I have other responsibilities too. As a track coach, I have to guide my team to run on the track and not into trouble, cause plenty of that out there. My days don't stop, and neither can I. So I need something to take care of me while I take care of everybody else. That drink is Malta. And it tastes good too. Big up yourself, Malta.
Full of life.
Nation, baby.
Rain or shine, any weather. When we go bold, we go virgin. Quality paint, no faded colors. When we go bold, we go virgin. Let your imagination run free. Pick a color, any color for the space what you need. When we say it bold, that mean it not feel. Quality in every color, 7-year guarantee. When we go bold, we go virgin. Watch your color. When we go bold, we go virgin. Rain or shine, any color you need. When we go bold, we go virgin.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Gleaner, burial reprieve looms. Grave diggers may get grants. Interesting. And then UWI feels COVID sting as cases mount. Vaccine, light of hope at darkest hour, says the Prime Minister. In the Observer, lockdown not off table. The Prime Minister warns nation as COVID-19 cases continue to rise. So the lockdown is not off the table. And then Jamaican in US loses 4 cousins to COVID, angered by people who trivialize the pandemic. And then WHO advises against mandating vaccine to travel. Those are some of the major headlines in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our Facebook and WhatsApp question. What are your concerns in regards to the Health Ministry's vaccine rollout plan? Please leave a comment on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
Have some issues and concerns in your community that you wish could be attended to now? Want a platform to voice those concerns? This could be the place for you. Send your 30-second voice notes describing your issue to 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. Be sure to type a voice for hope before sending the voice note. Then listen on Tuesday at 9:45 a.m. for a voice for hope. Share the concerns you have seen. You know that street light that has not been working for a long time, or your community has not had water for 2 weeks now? Yes, here is somewhere you can share it. And maybe, just maybe, we can get some love on your situation. Remember now, send a 30-second voice note describing your issue and type a voice for hope before sending your voice note to 876-997-3125. A voice for hope. It's a problem, and we need a solution now. Love 101 FM, the family station, bringing a voice to your situation.
The coronavirus cannot move around by itself. If we control our movement, we can control the spread. If you do not have urgent matters to attend to, stay at home. If you have a cough, sneeze, sniffle, fever, stay at home. Flu-like symptoms or any respiratory illness, stay at home. If you do not have urgent matters to attend to, stay at home. By order under the Disaster Risk Management Act, stay at home. If you must go to the market, make a list and shop by it. Do not stay longer than necessary. Make a list and shop by it. Avoid touching surfaces. Avoid crowds and standing close. Use a mask or a scarf to cover nose and mouth. If you have a cough, sneeze, sniffle, fever, stay at home. Flu-like symptoms or any respiratory illness, stay at home. Can at your yard. By order under the Disaster Risk Management Act, stay at home.
Here is a reminder from Love 101, the family station, as we face the COVID-19 pandemic. Be kind to address stigma during this pandemic. Share the latest facts and avoid exaggerating stories. Show solidarity with affected persons and tell the stories of persons who have experienced the virus. I am Kimberly Levy from Love 101, reminding you to protect yourself while protecting others. Stay safe and keep it locked on Love 101, the family station.
Welcome back. You're tuned in to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's join Shavani for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. What are your concerns re the health ministry's vaccine rollout plan? Shavani.
All right, some comments here. Let me go through them quickly. This one says we don't have the resources to charge and lock up everyone at this point. Vaccines cannot solve the problem immediately. We need a lockdown in the country. This one says, well, I totally agree. I believe at this point we need a total lockdown right across the parishes. We all are affected. And at this point, some drastic measures should be taken. This one says, that's why the country not going to get better. We don't know unity. They war with each other too much. Let me see if there's another comment here. I think there is one here. This one says, leaders lead by example. That's my take on it. Children live what they learn. I think that's where it's at for now. Keep the conversation.
Okay, thank you very much, Shavani. I want to thank those who sent in their comments. All right, listeners, as we go into the second watch on March 2, 2021, the Gleaner carried a report entitled Church Views New Restrictions with Suspicion. The following date carried another report entitled Funeral Directors Blast Government Over Decision to Ban Burials. Now, what were the bases for such strong views? Were they justified? No. And how have the new restrictions affected the church, funeral homes, weddings, and funerals so far? Well, to discuss these and other related questions, we have so far online the Reverend Hartley Perrin, Custos of Westmoreland, and the pastor of the St. Peter's Anglican Church. Good morning, Custos Perrin.
Good morning to you, sir. Good morning to you, and good morning to all your listeners and to all Jamaica.
Yes, good to have you with us. Of course, we are expecting to be joined by a representative from the Funeral Homes Association. But in the meantime, we're going to go through a discussion.
Sorry. Mm-hmm.
Now, as I read in the preamble a while ago, Custos Perrin, it mentions the whole matter of suspicion in some of the churches in regards to what was mandated by the government. Are you one of those church leaders?
Not really my word. Not really my word. My word was disappointment.
Yeah, there's disappointment in that.
Yeah, my word was disappointment. And the reason for the disappointment was that the Prime Minister, outlining before he got to the point where he said what he did, he said that the churches were cooperating with the protocols, and he felt very pleased and commended the church for the fact that we were doing so well in maintaining the relevant protocol. So when at the end of the deliberations, he was able to say that he's going to be closing the churches, in effect, that was for me most disappointing, because we're really trying our best to ensure that we maintain the relevant protocols.
Yes.
So I'm not saying with suspicion. I think the suspicion would come by those who felt and those who, I suppose, still feel that if it is that weddings could be kept with numbers of 25, why it is that funerals had to be banned. So I think that is where the suspicion came in. Why it is that weddings were permitted, but church services were not.
Yes.
What is the rationale?
Yes.
Behind all of that?
So are you
feel is to be? Yes, go ahead, please.
Come on, if you're still disappointed, Costas.
Well, things have changed, and it's a moving target.
Yes.
You know, I have to accede that things are not the way we would have loved them to be, and there is that basic indiscipline on the part of our population, perhaps out of fatigue, because the condition has been persisting now for nearly a year, and it's beginning to get to the psyche of the people.
Mm-hmm.
We would want more education, more coercing, I think, to make people realize the dangers that are inherent when we flagrantly blatantly disregard the protocols. It's really a hard fight. I know the government, for example, I was listening to the Prime Minister last night, and you could see that he was walking a tightrope.
Oh yeah.
He would want to close the country down, as so many other countries have done, but at the same time, he has to be mindful of the economic fallout that would result from such an action. So it's going to be last resort.
Yeah. All right. Mr. Cornwall is on. Mr. Joseph Cornwall.
Yes. Good morning.
Yes. Welcome to you. Mr. Cornwall is CEO of the House of Tranquility Funeral Home. Mr. Cornwall, in my preamble, I mentioned a Gleaner article which stated that funeral directors blast government over decision to ban burials. Are you one of those?
Well, I'm not really blasting the government, because if things have to be done to prevent the spread of COVID-19, then it ought to be done. But it ought to be done in a structured way where it does not create any negative issues or problems with bereaved families and business persons so engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Because the funeral industry encompasses a wide number of persons, not just funeral directors, but florists, dressmakers, shoemakers, you name it. Because last dress is bought for burials, just as we have purchased for a wedding.
Oh, tell you what, Mr. Cornwall, we are on a break. Could you hold that thought, please? We'll be right back.
Yes.
The time by the Ministry of Health, Healthy People, Healthy Environment is
7:45 on the Sound of Love.
Always in our service, even against the odds. You are our guides through countless hours, diligent and selfless, demonstrating the real meaning of true respect for all. At JN, we stand with all public sector employees. We're showing respect and enriching your life in the same way you enhance the lives of your fellow Jamaicans. You can depend on us as we depend on you. Visit www.jngroup.com to get started today. JN Group will help you find a way.
Don't
Don't miss this opportunity to earn international and local certificates in just 1 month at Distinction College. Register now and start our Super Easter program from March 20 to April 24. Get qualified in geriatric and pediatric nursing, phlebotomy, housekeeping, call center, customer service, business admin, receptionist, supervisory management, cashiering, childcare, and nail technology. No subjects required, no age limit, no entrance test. Register this week and get 10 to 25% discount on all courses. Call 876-356-4167 or 876-354-8560. Visit us in Kingston, Spanish Town, Ojorias, or St. Elizabeth.
We're working on a brighter day, you don't have to fret. You know your family secure, you don't need no stress. It's like you run a 5K, set the pace, win the race, celebrate, and you still never bust no sweat. We see we brother and we sister, this is how we heal them. Easy now, you and Guardian Life, it's a nation we're building. Many hearts, but we all want the same thing. Live secure and live easy.
I am data hungry. I share pictures of my food on Instagram, but not the actual food itself. I listen to YouTube music all day, and when I'm not, I'm streaming videos all night. Flow has the only prepaid mobile plan with unlimited data for the apps I really want. Real apps like YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, Twitter, and WhatsApp. Real data that I really use.
Get it now. Dial *129*6 number sign to activate your Flow 7-day plan for only $675. Conditions apply.
I know, man. She gets out of bed even when she doesn't feel like it. She works long hours and rarely gets a break. She gives of herself every single day and has a very important job.
Here you go, sweetie. Do you need anything else?
But this woman is not only a nurse, she is also my mom. And Malta helps her care for herself so she can look after everybody else. And me too. Thanks, mommy. Thanks, Malta.
Malta, you're full of life.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and we are examining the impact of the new COVID restrictions on funerals, weddings, and the churches. And we have online the Reverend Hartley Perrin, Custos of Westmoreland and pastor of the St. Peter's Anglican Church, and Mr. Joseph Cornwell, CEO of the House of Tranquility Funeral Home. Mr. Cornwell, before the break, you were telling us about your concern.
Yes, we have some concern because we were not really engaged in a dialogue with any grouping or anybody, government, whatever, as to what the necessary plans are. That is an industry that generates income, it employs people, and with inactivity, it means that it could be seen or could end up as shut. And if it's shut down, other people are dependent on it for their survival, financially and otherwise. So whatever we are planning to do, we have to be mindful of the fact that this has contributed or is contributing immensely to our economy. Yes. And that people are dependent on it for their livelihood.
Yes.
So whatever is being contemplated, the people must be taken into consideration.
Yes.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, man. Custos Perrin, earlier on you mentioned it on the matter of disappointment. What would you have done differently, though, Custos Perrin, if you were in the Prime Minister's position?
Well, I think everybody has been saying that where there are breaches, those persons ought to be taken before the courts. But if there are churches, and there are many churches who have been trying to ensure that we meet all the relevant requirements, then we should not be penalized. I know my own church, we have been doing exactly what we have been asked to do to ensure that the numbers remain so that we have social distancing, that we wear masks during the service, that we sanitize. And in one number of churches, some churches have been having 2 and 3 services to cut the numbers to ensure that they are able to meet the requirement.
Yeah.
So when we would have heard that we've been doing well, and then we heard, "Oh no, you're gonna get closed up," then that is where the disappointment comes.
I wonder, Costas, if the thinking, I'm just wondering out loud, the thinking is not so much to shut down the churches per se, but the fact that many of the church members would have had to use the public transportation on their way to church and back home. And the idea is to minimize the traveling on the road and the regular contact with the population to try and stem the surge that has come about. What do you think about that thinking?
Well, at this point in time, my dear brother, at this point in time, I'm not really, advocating for anything less than what is happening right now at this point. But then it was a different scenario altogether. Things have deteriorated significantly over the last 2 weeks or so.
Right.
But in terms of the transport to church, I mean, the membership would be going to supermarket, they'll be going elsewhere, just as they do to church.
Right.
So I would not say because they have to take public transport. Wherever they would be going, they would have to take the same means. But as I said, I think it's a different ball game altogether now. As far as I'm concerned, if it were not for the economic reasons, we should all really be staying home. Especially with the news now that there is the new variant. So I sympathize with my brothers from the funeral home, and I'm happy to hear that the government is taking into consideration the urgency on the part of some bodies that need to be buried, so that it's not a wide scale white brush that covers everything, but consideration be given to instances where there is the critical need for burial.
Yes. But how has that been working out for you, though, with the present arrangement, with 10 persons maximum in the sanctuary, and I guess being online? How is that working out for you in your country?
It's not working out for me at all. From last year, from March of last year, I've been doing my own thing with WhatsApp and Facebook and YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have the means to do streaming because we don't have the internet at our disposal per se, nor the technical persons to do that. So in effect, we are closed. We have not been having any service at all on a Sunday morning because we don't really have the streaming, and the government is clear that the only reason why you would get 10 persons in the church is if you were streaming. We don't have the facility to stream. So in effect, our doors are closed.
Yeah. Mr. Cornwall?
Yes.
Yes, it would be remiss of me to have you online and not clarify something, at least in my thought. Was it your funeral home that had reportedly a repast was held? 200 persons last week in downtown Kingston?
No.
No?
No.
It wasn't. So which funeral home was that?
I can't answer to that one because
it didn't say tranquility.
It's really we have a chapel where we would have funeral services, and that certainly I am not privy to any info on that.
No, the report said tranquility. I'm just wondering if it was a false report.
Well, I can't. I know that people will gather at the funeral home, but in terms of the number of 200, I couldn't verify that because I wasn't really.
So it was your place. It was your place, but you're not verifying. You're unable to verify the numbers as reported.
Yes.
Okay. So how though? I mean, if the Disaster Risk Management Act states a certain number of persons, how could it even reach near there where they could even if 200 is incorrect?
Yeah.
It must have been over 100.
Well, listen. Remember, some people are indisciplined. They don't pay attention to the protocols as they are enunciated. And once they are privy to the fact that a service for a particular deceased will be held, they are going to do everything in their powers to try to attend. So it is now a matter where state would come in in terms of breaking up any crowds or any numbers that are in excess of those allowable. It's a very difficult task because you don't readily get the cooperation of the
Yeah, but you don't have to have systems in place, Mr. Cornwall, to ensure that the rules of the nation are adhered to. In this
Yes,
regard.
I do agree with you, but with the level of indiscipline in the country today, it is very difficult to maintain the protocols as they are to be maintained. Because it doesn't, the cooperation does not come voluntarily. It has to be forced. And this is where government comes in because they have the police and other agencies that can assist.
Custos Perrin,
Yes,
what
sir.
was your understanding and concerns in regards to the fact that churches were not having at one stage the funeral services, only burials, but then it seemed as if the funeral homes were able to have services on their compound.
Yeah, well, I've had since COVID, I've had a number of funerals. Only two such as a result of death associated with COVID, but all the other funerals have been graveside funerals. And persons so far have adhered to the numbers. They know that they cannot attend the graveside, and it's kind of heart wrenching to think that there's a member who is so well loved and respected, and you get to the graveside and you see just 6 of you doing the interment.
Yes, yes.
But that is what is required, and that was what was done. So I've not had a problem with respect to the funeral services at the graveside. Persons have brought into the idea and the notion that that is how things are. There have been some bodies that have been kept for long periods because they would have been of the view that things would change positively and that they would be able to have the elaborate funerals. That has not come about, so they've had to go to Zoom. Thank God for Zoom and other such platforms that allow them to get persons participating without their presence virtually.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sad if the funeral homes, if it is that the funeral homes are not trying to ensure that the people who come adhere to the policies of the funeral home and of government.
Yes. And I'm here in the wrap-up. Yes, I'm here in the wrap-up theme song. But just quickly, Mr. Cornwall, you have the final word. How are you going to work out the storage fees and all of those things? Quickly.
Well, that's a big one.
Okay.
The rates are supposed to be penal. Penal meaning that the longer you try to keep a body on refrigeration, then the fees tend to be adjusted on the number of days as they grow.
So you're still going to charge it?
About compliance.
You're still going to charge those fees?
If I'm going to charge them?
Yes, you're still going to charge the storage fees, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I want to thank you, Custos Perrin and Mr. Cornwall, for joining us this morning. Have a productive day, gentlemen.
To you, sir. To you as well, and thank you for having us.
Welcome. Thank you, listeners.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, listeners, for being with us. For information or to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-959627. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Miss Kathy Gale, and our guest. I'm Dylan Toussaint, handing you back to Love in the Morning with Siobhan Blair.
You're tuned to Love 101 FM, the family station, and the Morning Watch is brought to you today by Educom Cooperative Credit Union, valued through service, integrity, innovation, and commitment.
Grace reduced sodium corned beef. Grace gives you better choices for a better life.
The time brought to you by Grace Kennedy is
8 o'clock, folks, on the family station. Love 101 approaching 8 to 1 in just a few. And it's time for the program Forward in Faith, brought to you by the Port Moody Testament Church of God.